Hi, my name's DJ Harry, and I just want to do a quick video to maybe give some insight on what's going on with the recent lawsuit with the Department of Education. I've been seeing a lot of articles or people that have posted things on Facebook that are mentioning specifically some of the different colleges that it may affect. And I just want to make sure that we're clear on what's happening and the significance of it. And so today we're going to be talking briefly about the recent litigation that's working its way through the courts against the Department of Education, specifically dealing with Christian colleges and universities and their Title IX status. So Title IX is a fairly common part of the Civil Rights Act of 1972, part one of the amendments there, that I think most people are aware of to an extent. And if I could just ask before we get started, if you would subscribe, love to have you hit that subscribe button. And I'm close to 1,000. Help me get over 1,000 subscribers. That would be great. But the Title IX is a law that protects people from being discriminated against when it comes to colleges and universities. In fact, let me read for you specifically the wording from Title IX. No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Now, the reason why this is important is in the past, as in like before 2019, the word sex on the basis of sex meant whether you were a male or a female. But if you remember, in June of 2019, the U.S. Supreme Court affirmed that sex under Title VII, which is dealing with the Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, specifically protecting women's rights, that word sex actually means sexual identity, sexual preference, transgender status. Those are all now protected underneath the umbrella of sex. Where that was not the intention of the law when it was passed, it meant male or female, it was reinterpreted in 2019 to mean that. Now, the reason why that's important is because we basically have the same language in Title IX. And Title IX basically it says that no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, denied the benefits of, or subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal assistance. And so Title IX basically says if you're receiving federal funds, you cannot discriminate based on sex, which now sort of means if you are receiving federal funding, you cannot discriminate based on sexual identity, sexual preference. And basically, they're wanting to take the Title VII interpretation of sex and apply it to Title IX. And I'll be honest with you, it's the natural progression. I mean, if that's what it means in Title VII, then that's what it's going to mean in Title IX. That's how it's going to be interpreted. The reason why this is important is because just in the last couple of days, a lawsuit has come up where about 25 to 33, I'm seeing different numbers, 25 to 33 plaintiffs have sued the United States Department of Education. So be clear, they've not sued the colleges. So all the colleges that you may see listed, if you went to a college that accepts federal dollars and you see a post talking about that college and this lawsuit, the colleges are not named in the lawsuit. The United States Department of Education is named in the lawsuit. But they're suing the Department of Education saying that you don't have the right to give federal funding to schools that are not abiding by the discrimination policies of Title IX, specifically interpreted as sex being the LGBTQ agenda. And so it's an end around. Instead of reinterpreting what Title IX actually is, they're just suing the federal government, which, of course, in the current administration, they've already affirmed verbally, not necessarily on this specific case, but they have affirmed verbally that they agree with what's being done. They agree with this lawsuit. They agree that Christian colleges and Christian universities should not be allowed to make decisions based on their religion. Now, there has been a religious exemption in the past. In fact, Title IX had a religious exemption where if you, based on your beliefs, your religious beliefs, there were certain things you could step back from. But the lawsuit is affirming that there should be no religious exemption. And if you are not following through the non-discriminatory practices dealing with sexual preference, sexual identity, the LGBTQ agenda, then you cannot receive federal funding. Now, that does create a conversation about federal funding. And I remember years ago, my wife and I having this discussion, and we talked about the danger, really the potential dangers of colleges accepting federal dollars. And, in the end, I know there are good Christian colleges that are that receive federal money through grants and through loans, and they're the ones that are probably going to be affected the most by this, because the good Christian colleges are going to refuse to back down on their religious beliefs. It's possible that they may even lose their tax-exempt status. Let me just throw up. Let me throw up on the screen for you something. This is from the Greenville News. Now, I'm not reading this article specifically because of Bob Jones, although Bob Jones, as well as hundreds of other colleges, fall in this category. But this is the article, and there's actually a precedence there. Let's see. That's not where I wanted to put it. No, that's not where I wanted to put it. So why don't we do this? We'll go to this screen. There you go. That's what I wanted. So, so the lawsuit claims that a section of the Title IX that allows religious exemptions is unconstitutional because it enables institutions to discriminate against LGBTQ individuals. It calls for a permanent injunction on the Title IX religious exemptions relating to sexual and gender minority students. So that's basically what the lawsuit is affirming. But then I want to read for you from the American Conservative. This is an article that they just put out. Any article dealing with this is probably going to be just a few days old, because this is something that's just now happening. The thing about the famous 1982 Bob Jones case is that the Supreme Court of the United States held that the IRS can remove the tax-exempt status of a religious school because the government has a fundamental overriding interest in eradicating racial discrimination in education. If you remember, the issue that came up years ago with some Christian colleges dealt with interracial dating and whether that should or shouldn't be allowed. And obviously, the Bible doesn't speak at all to that issue. And yet there were some colleges that held pretty firm that was, their interpretation of the scripture. Regardless, the Bob Jones University lost their tax-exempt status for that reason. And they've only recently gotten it back. But basically, the Supreme Court said in that case that if the federal government has an overriding interest in eradicating discrimination in education, then it has the freedom to remove tax-exempt status. And the reason why that's dangerous here is this next sort of part of the paragraph. I'd like to hear the opinions of Lars on this blog's readership, but it seems to me that the Biden administration, remember this is the AmericanConservative.com, that the Biden administration could simply announce a policy change at the IRS and tax exemption for religious colleges and universities that discriminate against LGBT would disappear. And I want you to know that really could happen. We are really living in the age where if you do not bow to the idol of the LGBTQ agenda, then you are going to be pressured, you're going to be bullied, you're going to be pushed. And I think if anything, it reminds us of the importance as believers of being independent in our faith and independent in our walk with the Lord. In the end, as a church, can I encourage you moving forward? I know, there may be another stimulus package where you have the chance to receive money for your church. My encouragement, don't do it. Money almost always has strings. You know the old saying, he who holds the purse pulls the strings, dealing with purse strings, okay? Whoever has the money, whoever gives the money, there are always strings connected. Money makes you dependent. Money gives authority, and money eventually affects direction. Someone commented on a Facebook comment. It was a Facebook comment that came up earlier today. Good comment. The question was kind of pushing back at this, and I get it. Can you name any conservative Christian colleges that have received federal funding that have not bent to cultural pressure? And the answer to that is no. And it may surprise you. It's not no because it doesn't happen. It's no because in saying no, you remain a conservative Christian college. In saying no, you stay true to your values. In saying no, you hold firm to your beliefs. But history is littered with hundreds of Christian colleges and universities that allowed the pressure of this world, financial pressure, cultural pressure, to change them. Are there good colleges and universities today that are going to be affected by this ruling, whatever the ruling is when it comes out? Are there good Christian colleges and universities going to be affected by this? Yes. I feel for them. I stand by them. I believe as Christians, we should be praying for them. We should be encouraging them, doing whatever we can to try to be a blessing to them. In the end, we recognize that the pressures of this world, the pressures of culture are real. As we think about the pressures that they're facing, our prayers that God would help them to remain strong and help them to remain steadfast in their stand for the faith. Hope this has been a help and encouragement to you. And if you can, please subscribe. Love to catch you on the next video. God bless.